Hello everyone, and welcome by the review of Sunday's race in MotoGP in Silverstone. So much happened, so much to talk about. First of all, congratulations to everybody, Australian Motorcycle News, Aussie fans. Senna Agius wins the Moto2 race. Very happy for him, very good, and so deserved. He was very good in the practice sessions, he was very good in qualifying, he did a very clever race, and he has a very slow bike, which shouldn't happen. Moto2 is about, you can make your own chassis, but we designed the engine, the airbox, the fuel injection system, the ECU, the exhaust, so power should be the same. There was a lead group of 4 riders, and it was clear that Senna Agius had a bike that didn't have the top speed at all, didn't have the real acceleration, and definitely not the top speed. For whatever reason. I don't say people are cheating, but something is there. Maybe he chose the final ratio wrong, maybe it's his size, he's not the smallest guy, but it was a problem. He was fighting really clever. He was fighting in the top 4, and he was cleverly fighting. But he knew he was in trouble because his favorite corner for overtaking was just 2 corners before the long back straight, the Hangar straight, and that's where everybody overtakes you again. You want to basically overtake somebody, then put a little bit of a distance between him and you before you come to your weakest point. He wasn't able to do that, but anyway, he was fighting up and down, leading P4, leading P2, P3, P1, but in the end, he was not going to win it. He was in the good group, but the guys in the front made a mess, and he was clever enough to immediately see the opportunity, change the way he approached the right chicane because they were going to hit each other. It was clear it was bound to happen, and then he reacted cleverly and won it. So yeah, so deserved. Really happy. And 6th in the standing, so let's see what happens. He's in a really good team because Gonzalez is leading the World Championship, is his teammate. He had a shit weekend actually, he had a shit race, but anyway, yeah. And then it was up to Moto3 where we have Joel Kelso, also high in the standings, high in the qualifying, high in the race, but also high in the air. No, not high in the air, but he crashed out of the race while leading. Now, Moto3 race leading doesn't always mean something when there is a couple of laps to go. And I think we were only 5 laps in the race. He was in the top group, putting his position clearly. He was confident. He could put himself where he wants to, but in Moto3 you don't have everything in your hand. People can always stack it underneath you and put you offline and so on. He went to the lead, and in the last, like a chicane, left-right chicane before the finish, he did something weird, like he accidentally shifted the gear or something. When you change bike from full lean angle left to immediately full lean angle right, usually in the middle it comes up a little bit. Well, his front came up more than he expected by throwing it from left to right, and when it touched down, he lost it completely. So he should be annoyed for that because he was fast and make sure he was in the leading group and checking the others. So yeah, also everything happens in one day. We have an Aussie winner, we have an Aussie rider on the ground. But at least we have strong Australian riders in Moto3, in Moto2, and we have, of course, Jack Miller in MotoGP. A little bit later, more about him. The main race, the MotoGP race. Where to start? Let's divide what happened today a little bit. Otherwise, I will be rambling on for 20 minutes. First of all, and I'm reading my notes here, both Marquez brothers crashing out of the lead in 1.5 lap. But then came a red flag. How fucking lucky can you be? That's just, they both fucked up. Alex doesn't even make it to the first corner. He already locked the front and never saw the first corner already on his ass. Mark is leading after 1.5 lap. Is the first guy in a fast sequence of corners, and there obviously was some wind, but hey, the wind was there for everybody. He loses after 1.5 lap, loses the front of the bike and he's leading the race, and there is 21 laps to go. We just had 1 down and he already crashing out of it. So both Marquez brothers throwing away their chances big time. But then Aleix Espargaro and Morbidelli tangled, they crashed, and Morbidelli's Ducati leaked a little bit of oil, red flag. And the rules say if it's within 3 laps a red flag, everybody who started the race and still has a motorbike left can restart. So you can think about how fair it is, because the red flag has nothing to do with Alex or Marc Marquez crashing. They were just plain lucky to get back on their bike, go to the pit box, have the team prepared to repair the bike or prepare the other bike, and be able to get to the grid for a quick restart. So unbelievable how lucky both of them were for that. But then we had a really, really spectacular race, so much different from yesterday. And without going into too much detail, the reason this race was so special, the real reason is that the Ducatis hate this medium front tire. So yesterday in the short sprint race, they were all using the soft front tire, which was great, but didn't even make it until the end of the sprint race. Look at the lap times from some of the Ducatis, how much they dropped last 2 laps in the sprint yesterday. Now the sprint is half the main race, so all the Ducati riders know, no, we have to use the medium, but we hate it. It doesn't grip, it doesn't give us any feedback, and that created a whole new situation. It's like suddenly the Ducatis have a shit chassis and lose 20 horsepower. Suddenly Yamaha was competitive, Honda was competitive, Aprilia was super competitive, and the Ducatis were nowhere. So we had a whole new race with that, and yeah, it shows how good the Yamaha can be if the right combination of tire and track is there. Because Fabio couldn't believe his luck with the medium front tire. He couldn't believe how much the Ducatis were struggling. He was with 2 fingers in the nose pulling a second a lap on everybody else, and then realizing, okay, yeah, maybe I have to calm down. It's going very, very easy. But then Fabio Quartararo, obviously chosen rider of the day, going to win it, and then his rear right high device got stuck low, and that's it's a technical DNF, and it's not something that happens a lot. Yamahas don't stop so much. When I saw him stopping, we know it was a technical. I was thinking, oh, it's the engine, because they have a faster engine, and usually if you have a fast engine, you have initially some reliability problems, but it was the right high device. So that's the Yamaha out. But the other guy that did the super show is last race winner, Johan Zarco on the Honda, which is not supposed to be finishing second in the race, but he did in the main race finishing second in a dry race, just because he can manage that front tire so much better, and all the Ducati hates it. So really, really good for that. Quartararo, Zarco, Marco Bezzecchi, the winner. Aprilia was and is always good in Silverstone. For years in a row, they are always good there. They can't believe their luck how good they are. Alain Espargaro won there. Bezzecchi wins his second MotoGP race here, and so easy. He didn't do a great start, but he just couldn't believe his luck with the medium front tire. He didn't really like it, but the others hated it even more. So with the Aprilia, he just did everything that Aprilia is good at and won it easily. But it also shows a little bit of the problem. Because if Ducati suffers in Silverstone, they have only one boogie race in the year, only one. If you're really, really good in Silverstone, you're probably not good on all the other tracks. And Aprilia is always really, really good in Silverstone. So they have their 1 year party. Now, it was today. Good luck for you, but then you have to work extra hard for the next coming amount of races. Then there was Jack Miller, same bike as Fabio Quartararo. Qualified 6 or 7 on the grid. Was in the beginning of the race typically Jack Miller. When the tires are fresh, he sees opportunity, he doesn't need another invitation. He slams it inside, outside, riding around people. I think he was even up to P2 at some point, but also typically Miller. He asked a lot from his tires, then dropped back a little bit, but still gave everybody an honest fight for their money. So it was good to see Jack doing that again. And in the end, Marquez finished on the podium, on the P3, making the best, obviously because Marquez is so much better than everybody else. When Ducati is a problem, still Marquez is always the best Ducati. And the best Ducati at the moment was P3, and he should be so lucky with that, because he was basically out of the race. So, like I said, that's the situation. One thing about KTM, because even if Ducati struggles and Yamaha and Honda are picking up the fruits and thinking, oh, that's easy, I can do that. Even in these situations, the KTM cannot really show something. Acosta finished 6th, which is not bad, and it was not on a far distance from the first, but this is Pedro Acosta, which is a super talented rider. He chose also the soft front tire, and he was never really fast. Not in the beginning, not in the end, not in the middle. So, yeah, disaster for KTM continues. No updates, no real progression. Not really motivated riders, losing maybe a little bit away what they needed to do. So I really hope in Aragon that KTM comes back, because in 2 weeks we have the Aragon MotoGP, which normally is a Marc Marquez race, because first of all we go counterclockwise, and a lot of the important corners for a lap time are long, fast left-hand corners where Marc can do his magic trick, which is the opposite from Silverstone. So yeah. But then again, we have seen a weakness from Marc Marquez again coming up today, crashing out of races. When I heard last year, but I think Marc Marquez is the best rider. When he goes to Ducati on the best bike, the championship's gone. But I didn't reckon for this phenomenon that we see coming up now, that Marc keeps crashing out of races. When Marc was being superior with the Honda in MotoGP, he was crashing his balls out every practice session, but never in the race. Because on the Honda, he could control his risk. He could feel what he could do with the bike, and in the race he just backed down a little bit, and that was it. On the Ducati, he crashes because it's a strange bike and you have to ride it a little bit differently. And as soon as you put a little bit of stress on Marc in the race, he loses his cool, goes too aggressive, and if you go too aggressive with the Ducati, you're on your ass. So Marc has definitely a weak side, which is crashing out of races, which is all we can hope for, because it makes the championship so much more entertaining. Anyway, today's race was very, very entertaining. Today's Moto2 race was very, very entertaining, especially for a Moto2 race. And we have a beautiful winner. Moto3 is spectacular as always. The guy who was a bit naughty in qualifying has to be back of the grid, wins it in the end, because in Moto3 everything is possible. But unfortunately, Joe Kelso, once at the lead, made a little mistake and he will regret it. But he will come back stronger and he's still in an okay position in the championship. So that was my little summary from today. I hope you enjoyed it and see you next time.